that is, and we're getting recorded. Identified that there was a bit of safety and design was missing from our process in producing designs, and it's part of the Queensland Health and Safety regulations to have it in place. So we engaged we went out to tender, and SSS was successful in being awarded the piece to put together this piece of information and the worksheets, like Paul said. And so we've finally been working for 12 months on it, and this is the culminating in this training session today, which is broken up into 2 sessions. So hopefully you'll get something out of it and realise that design is not just about sitting in front of a computer and drawing something. It encompasses a lot of other things.
Great. Thanks, Marco. And as you can see on the screen there, we will record this session. And the reason we record the session is to provide you an opportunity to review any content if you want a little bit more detail, or if you can't make a session for any reason, you can always catch up on the entire session. We'll give you some more details on that later in the presentation. And here's Marissa.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Hi, everybody. My name is Marissa Garisto. I'm the moderator for today. I'll just be behind the scenes, just making sure we all run smoothly, and Paul has a good presentation ahead. If you have any issues during the session, in the webinar, or today or tomorrow, please let me know. If you need to sort of pop out early, or if you're having any tech issues or admin questions, you're welcome to chat to me in the chat function. You can, in the chat function, there is a to everyone. You can select to everyone, which everyone will see your comments, or you can select just a host and panelists, which will just come directly to myself and Paul and Marco. Otherwise, you would have received a couple of emails from us at training@safesystemsolutions.com.au. You're welcome to email me there if you need to get in contact. As you can see on the screen, we've got the chat function, which is just circled there, and we've got another Q&A function also there down below, probably be on your icons. Please feel free to pop any of your comments in the chat, any questions you might have for Paul into the chat function there, or in the Q&A function. I'll make sure that Paul gets to your question and addresses that at some point during his presentation. If you have any tech issues during the sessions, the most easiest and quick fix is usually just to leave the webinar and then just pop back in. That usually fixes most of the problems. If on our learning management system, which I'll talk you through in a moment, we do have a PDF version of all of Paul's presentation today, so you're able to follow along or catch up if you miss anything. And there's our email address on the screen there, training@safesystemsolutions.com.au, if you have any questions for me. Thanks. Back to you, Paul.
Excellent. Were you going to touch on the LMS?
Yeah. Yes, learning management system. You would have received an email from me just letting you know about our learning management system, and that I've set up some access for you. Hopefully you've received those emails and your login details, and you've had a chance to log in. We'll show you through the LMS towards the end of the webinar today. If you haven't had a chance to log in, please do so. You will need access to this system in order to pass the course. It houses lots of resources that we've popped in there for you, and a few little tasks that we'll need you to do. So please, and you will need access to it for tomorrow's session also. So please try get online, try logging. If you're having any issues logging in, or you didn't get your login details, please shoot me an email, let me know, and I'll arrange that for you.
Great. Thanks, Marissa.
Welcome.
And there are some prizes involved in this session. So Marissa's sitting there in a prize pit. That's not a background. That's real.
Yeah, I'm currently at the carnival.
So we really encourage you to answer questions, to ask great questions in the chat, and contribute to sessions. We'll be running a number of polls throughout the webinar, so please do contribute, and you can win a prize. So Marissa will keep track of the prizes that are allocated or won in the webinar, and we'll post them out, and Marco will wander around the office, I'm sure, and hand them out.
Yeah, we'll just throw around the Batmans and the Supermans to whoever wins them.
Excellent. So just to successfully complete the course, we've got some competency requirements to demonstrate that you can understand the concepts and apply the safety and design process for your work at council. There's a set of quiz questions at the end of each module, just to check your understanding. You have 3 attempts to pass the quiz, and if you have any issues with any of the content, we can cover things on a one-on-one basis, or you can ask any questions to myself to get any clarification. Excellent. Okay, I think that covers about the intro stuff. Is there any other administration stuff that I've missed, Marissa?
No, I think you've covered it all. Good to go.
Okay, so this is module 1. We've got 2 modules in our program. Module 2 is tomorrow at the same time. So module 1 will cover an introduction to safety in design, and that's going to help you understand important terms that will help you understand the concept of safety in design. The second module is more practical, and you'll undertake a safety and design exercise using design projects that Council has actually completed. So why are you here? Why is safety and design important? Well, health and safety in the workplace is important because when we all go to work, we all want to come home or return home in the same condition and health that as when we left. And design has an important role to play to eliminate or minimise the risk of injury or death at the workplace. And you can see that it's a serious number of workplace-related fatalities and serious injuries that occur while people are at work. So why are you here at the training? Well, the training is to provide an introduction to the Council's Safety and Design Manual, and make sure that it'll make sure that everyone has the same understanding of the concept and process of safety and design. Many of you in this session, I understand mostly designers and engineers and planners in this session, you'll have some experience in safety and design, and it's possible that what you'll see today is quite familiar to you. Council's Safety and Design Safety and Design Manual is currently in a draft format, and we are running 4 training sessions, so with 4 different groups to cover safety and design and the process of applying safety and design. At the conclusion of those 4 rounds of sessions, we'll we'll consider any feedback and make the Safety and Design Manual available for everyone to use. So at the end of this module, you'll be able to understand the concept of safety and design, understand key terms, and understand some other important safety and design considerations. So we'll dive straight in and give you the full definition of safety and design, and then I'm going to break down some of those key components of it separately. So safety and design requires a designer to ensure, so far as reasonably practical, that a structure is designed to be without risks to the health and safety of persons who, now these are important points, who at a workplace use the structure for the purpose for which it was designed, construct the structure at a workplace, carry out any reasonably foreseeable activity at a workplace in relation to the manufacture, assembly or maintenance or proper demolition or disposal of the structure, or are in the vicinity of a workplace are exposed to the structure when any of the above activities are occurring. So you'll notice that there are some terms in bold there on the screen, and it's really important to have a good understanding of each of those terms in a safety and design context. So what I've got highlighted or bolded on the screen is workplace, structure, designer, and reasonably practical. And you can also see that the types of activities that safety and design covers, all of these activities are at a workplace. So we're thinking about the risks in relation to people at work. let's dive into a quiz. Now, I understand that safety and design may not be everyone's idea of an excitement-filled topic. So as I said earlier, there are prizes to be won, and our aim is to keep you thinking and involved throughout the session. So we're going to run a series of polls. We're going to ask you to contribute some answers in the chat as well. And we're going to dive into the meaning of those terms: workplace, structure, designer, and reasonably practical. So what is a workplace? Is it just an office space? Is it a depot? Is it a construction site? So there's a common photo there of a workplace for some. No, actually a workplace is a place where work is carried out for a business or undertaking and includes any place a worker goes or is likely to be at work. So under the Work Health and Safety Act, a workplace covers many places beyond a real traditional view of a workplace. So here's a little warm-up exercise just to get you in the mood. So have a look at the photo there. You can see it's a traffic signal box at a set of traffic lights. And I just want you to complete the sentence. This is a workplace when, and you might say something like, when a worker installs a new chip in the traffic signal controller for a new phasing sequence. You might also say when workers replace the traffic signal cabinet with a new one. So they're just two examples of when that image in your screen becomes a workplace. So with this one, I want you guys to complete a poll. So Marissa will fire up a poll there. I think you can see it on your screen now. So have a look at that image on your screen. I'm just going to move it so I can see it a little bit better. There we go.
I was going to say to the participants, they can drag that poll box away as well so they can see the image.
Yep. There we go. So multiple choice poll. So, and I want you to complete the sentence. This is a workplace when a lighting contractor engaged by the football club replaces a light fixture. Is that a workplace? Is it a workplace when a team decides to have a training run on a long weekend? Is it a workplace when a pipe that is part of an irrigation system leaks and needs some repairs by a plumber? Or is it a workplace when a learner driver drives into the car park that's just on the right of the image and learns to drive or learns to park a car? So excellent. I can see a lot of responses coming in. Hopefully everyone has mastered the poll and can find it. Yeah, so I saw Clayton in the chat there said, when I upgraded the control box as part of a project in 2019. There you go. That's in relation to the last slide. So we've got 27 responses. We've got 32 attendees. It's almost there.
Well, in the poll there, and I'll share the
Yeah,
results.
that's in there. We've got just about everyone there. So, so can everyone see those results there? Hopefully. So, yep, excellent. So, okay, for the first one, yep, seen. Thanks, Ben. So the first one, yep, 97% of people said, yep, when a lighting contractor comes in and replaces a light fixture, yep, spot on. That is a workplace. When a team decides to have a training run on a long weekend, someone said yes, but that's not a workplace. No one's been engaged, I guess, when it comes to a team coming in and deciding to have a training run. A pipe that leaks as part of an irrigation system needs repairs. That's certainly a workplace. When a learner driver comes into the car park with a family member and practices in the car park, no, that's not a workplace. They haven't been engaged by anyone to do work. So you guys have got the hang of this. This is great. So we'll, excellent. We'll crack on to the next one. So this is an image of a road, an embankment, someone doing some slashing. So we'll fire up that next poll and you can complete the poll. This is a workplace when a mowing contractor slashes grass on the embankment, when a path is used by cyclists riding to the shops, when a truck delivering building materials to a nearby site uses the road, or when a pothole in the road carriageway is repaired by a council maintenance crew. Okay, you guys have got the hang of it. All those responses are coming in. We're almost up to the magic number. We're at 29, 30. There we go. I think we can just about end the poll there, Marissa, and share those results. So the first one, spot on 100%. Certainly when someone engaged by council mows grass, they are a worker, and that's not a great example of safety and design in practice, because there is an embankment there down to the road, and that worker is on the top of that embankment, so not a great position. That's not in Cynthia Borton Bay, Marco, so you don't need to worry about that one. The next one is a path used by a cyclist riding to the local shops. Yes, certainly not a workplace there. The next one, a truck delivering building materials to a nearby site uses a road. Yeah, there's about a 50-50 split there, and that's a good one. It's not a workplace there, and I can understand how some people think it would be a workplace in that instance. The workplace of a vehicle driver is typically considered to be his vehicle, her vehicle rather, or the place where they're perhaps delivering to, a depot or something of that nature, but not the road. Yeah, it would change things a little bit for everyone if we thought of the road as a workplace all the time. So good one to clarify. And the last one there, a pothole in the road carriageway is repaired by a council maintenance crew. Yeah, certainly a workplace there. Work is being carried out for council to do maintenance work. Excellent. We'll move on to the next one. Is this a workplace? This is a workplace when, we'll get the next poll going. That's a playground, some kids playing on the equipment. When's it a workplace? It's a workplace when children play on the equipment. A tree next to the park is trimmed by a qualified arborist. Additional play equipment is installed in accordance with an approved master plan. The children's party is held in the park and food is ordered from a delivery service. I'm going to check my spelling with that one, Marissa. Okay, excellent, up to 24 responses. I think we'll, perfect. Just a rush at the end. All right, we can close the poll there and share the results. So, yep, when children play on the equipment, it's not a workplace, spot on. When a tree is trimmed next to the park, certainly a workplace, assuming that the person is engaged by a council or the asset owner, which is almost always the case. Additional play equipment is installed in accordance with an approved park master plan. That is a workplace installation or construction of new play equipment. A children's party is held in the park and food is ordered from a delivery service. I'll check my spelling for next time. And that's actually is not a workplace, probably for the same reasons that a vehicle travelling along a road and someone making a delivery is not a workplace. So we had a few people that thought it was, but I know there's a lot of debate now about the safety of food delivery workers. Really strong concern about how they go about their work. Excellent. Okay, so I think that was the last poll there, but don't worry, there's certainly more to come. So that was about a workplace. We're going to talk about a structure now. So what is a structure under the Work Health and Safety Act? Could it just be buildings, maybe bridges, as you can see in your picture there? Well, those are structures, yes, but the structure is actually anything that is constructed. So it's a super broad definition. Includes things that are fixed, movable, temporary or permanent. It includes buildings, all those things you can see on the list. Any component of a structure, any part of a structure is also a structure. So there'd been, I think in the early days of this legislation, there was some misconceptions around the use of the term structure, because we tend to think of structures as buildings or bridges, and there's some things that we don't often describe as structures. So we don't usually refer to a road as a structure, but under the definition in the Work Health and Safety Act, it is certainly a structure. So just to test you out then, we're going to do some more polls. So we'll fire up the poll. It's multiple choice again. So, and in the image there, you have a look at the image and select all the things that you can see that are structures. So you've got 4 options there. Is it the water under the bridge? Is it the bridge itself? That's a structure. Is the dumped rock placed there for, I guess, erosion control? Is that a structure? Is the pipe attached to the bridge a structure? So you're up to, great, up to 28, just about to tick over, excellent. So that's just about everyone, perfect. Close the poll and we'll share the results. Here we go. So everyone correctly identified that the water under the bridge is not a structure. That hadn't been constructed. I think that's always been there. The bridge is certainly a structure, one we know quite well. That's the Bribie Island Bridge. The dumped rock, a few people said it was a structure. So yes, I'm assuming that it's not natural. So it has been placed there. It has been constructed. So it would be considered a structure. And the pipe attached to the bridge is a structure. I think we all got that. Excellent. Okay, there's more where that came from. So this one, so there's a structure in this image. We've got a few options here. The sealed part of the road, the trees, what about the gravel shoulder? Some fences you can see there just through the trees as well. So it's, yep. Just about there. All right, we'll end the poll and share those results. So you guys are getting the hang of this. So the sealed road, yep, certainly a structure. The trees, on the presumption that these are pre-existing part of the environment here, they're not a structure. If they were constructed as part of a landscape design, then yes, I'd consider them a structure. A gravel shoulder is certainly constructed. The fences have been constructed, so you guys are on track there with defining structures. We've got another one there. So here's the next poll there. So there's a bit of a natural area there. So we've got a few things going on. There's the trees along the creek line. Let's say that they're a natural feature. The natural grassed area, the mulch and the resting poles. So those are your options there. Which of those are structures? Answers flowing in. That's great. Excellent. Okay, I'll close the poll, share the results. So yeah, you guys are doing marvelously well. So the placed mulch and the resting poles certainly are being constructed. The natural grass area and trees along the creek line, they haven't been constructed, assuming that they've been natural and they're, been like that. They're not structures. Okay, we've got one more to test you on structures. I fear that, oh, sorry, we've got 2 more. So this is the second last one. So I fear you guys are going to do well in this one. So it's a signalised intersection. So select all those things that are structures there. So it's the sealed road, the signs with the narrow posts, are they structures? Concrete traffic islands, traffic signals. All right, everyone's clicking madly there. Okay, should have made that one a bit more harder, but you guys have got that, everything, just about everything in that image that you can see there, I think has been constructed at some point. So yep, share the results, no surprises there. Well done, everyone. I don't think I can give, I don't think Marissa's got enough prizes to give one to everyone there, but we'll see what we can do. All right. The next one now, this is the last one. So the last poll for structures. So we've got a few things there. It's a road, Cedar Creek Road, actually. So what are the structures through there? You've got the sealed road, the rock cutting, and the trees and scrub that are sort of growing out of that cutting, or on top of the cutting. Wonderful, we're almost there. So just about there, perfect. Okay, we can close the poll and share the results. So sealed road, yeah, I think you had that one from before. So well done, that's certainly a structure. The rough rock cutting now, the rock is obviously natural, has been there, but there's been a construction process needed to achieve that rock cutting. So whilst it's made of a natural material, it is a structure. And the trees and scrub, no, they're existed there or are growing naturally, so they're not part of a structure. Wonderful. All right. So we'll put the polls away for a while. We've got a few more coming though. So, oh, actually, sorry, what am I talking about? Got carried away there.
Nearly forgot one, Paul.
Yes. I've got lots of structures.
Just ironing out the kinks, aren't we?
I can't remember how many I put in, but I got carried away. So yeah, what is a structure there? This is a good one. So we've got a few things in the image. We've got the buildings at the back of the photo. We've got a sealed car park there with all the cars are. A drain inlet you can see, and some sort of levelled earthworks area with not much going on there. So. All right, I promise that this is the last one around structures. We're almost there. Okay, we can close the poll and share the results. So you can see yeah, buildings, structures, the car park has been constructed. It is a structure. The drain inlet, a structure. The levelled earthworks pad, now it's the one that I thought might go either way, but most of you have identified that as a structure, and it certainly is. It's been levelled, it's been constructed. So important to remember that, you know, even earthworks, fill embankments are also structures in themselves. Fantastic. Okay, all right. So we're moving on from structures. Now we're going to focus on designers. So who is a designer? Is it just people that working in that photo there that are using AutoCAD or 12D? Are those the designers? Someone that uses a calculator perhaps and marks up plans, classic designer behaviour. Well, yes, those are designers, but no, the designer is anyone really that includes anyone that prepares sketches or plans or drawings for a structure, including variations to a plan, and also includes people that make decisions for incorporation into a design that may affect the health and safety of persons who construct the structure, you know, work around the structure, or in the vicinity of the workplace, I should say. Those are also designers. So that's an important point there, that it's not only that sort of that, you know, what we all know designers are, and they prepare sketches and plans and drawings, but also those people that that make decisions that can affect a design. So I don't have a poll here, but I thought in the chat that we could write the names of roles that you might think of that are at council that would fit that definition of a designer. So John's pretty quick there. So councillors, Brent, civil designer, spot on, Brenton. AutoCAD draftsperson, managers, yeah, Hans. Project manager, indeed. Okay. PRO, is that a project responsible officer, architect?
Yep, that's it. I was
Yep.
just going to say that's, yep.
Yep. I think I've heard that before. Engineer, spot on, Aaron. Site supervisor. Yeah, that's a good one. Yep. Graduate designer. Yep. Designer. Yep. Yeah, I'm sure graduates make decisions, that's for sure. Lighting engineer, senior designer, a master planner. Well done. Yep, Simon. So spot on. So all those are designers under the definition of a or could be designers under the definition in the Work Health and Safety Act. So yeah, John threw up there for councillors, and I guess I'm not sure of the processes you have at council, but I do suspect that councils can influence and make decisions around designs. So in that context, they would be a designer under the Work Health and Safety Act.
I was just going to add, Paul, it was interesting when we did our practice run the last week, the comment that was made about stakeholder engagement and the public consultation around this. The question was, well, aren't they then designers as well? But they're not, because they're only providing input. They're not making the decision. So there was a difference there.
Yeah, that's right. You can receive feedback on a design, but if you take that feedback and you're the ultimate decision maker, as in council officer, then the person that's put forward a suggestion or some feedback is not a designer, because they haven't made any decisions. Okay, so this is, I guess, a list of some roles that I could think of. It's not a complete list, of course, that are designers. Included in there is managers. I've seen that pop up in the chat. Engineers, yes. Architects, I saw that. Civil designers. Also, I'll just jump onto the next slide. There's a few key points to take away from this one. So anyone that makes variations to a plan or changes to a structure is a designer. So if a design is prepared and it goes out to the field and there are some changes made in the field, then if it's not done, I guess the original designer hasn't been consulted with, then the person that's making that change or variation to a structure then becomes a designer. So that's quite important to note. Anyone that specifies how work is carried out is also a designer. So you may not be involved in plan preparation or making, I guess, decisions around the design itself, but you specify, you might prepare a specification, a project specific specification about how some work is going to be carried out. Well, you're a designer under the Work Health and Safety Act. And contractors also carrying out design work are designers. So it doesn't matter what you call yourself. You might call yourself a contractor. If you are doing design work, then you are also under the Work Health and Safety Act. Okay, so we've covered designer, we covered structure, we covered workplace. So the last point, sort of term that I want to really sort of delve into is asking ourselves what is reasonably practical. So remember that safety in design requires a designer to ensure, so far as is reasonably practical, that a structure is designed to be without risk to health and safety. So you can see the guy on the screen now. Is that a reasonably practical way to protect yourself from hazards?
If it works.
Maybe if you're posting yourself somewhere, that would that could be the go.
I might just jump in there. We've got a question that's come in. Paul, is a member of the public a designer if they put a sign or similar in the corridor?
Great question, Andrew.
I think we'll shoot Andrew a prize. What do you think?
Yeah. Issue the first
prize.
I
have a take on that. I would say no, because they haven't been, unless they've been asked to put the sign there.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there'd be some. I assume that there's some authorization required to throw things into a road corridor. A vandal. Yeah, that's that could might be a description, Jamie.
Prize for Jamie for making us laugh.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure of the process. I'm assuming, Marco, that there is some no one can just go out there and throw a sign into a road corridor without having some sort of approval or authorization. It does happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that
yeah.
I think that there's a approval process to put signs, because it depends if it's one of those variable message signs or whatever, and the amount of light and stuff like that. So
yeah. Is it constructed, I guess, is the other question. Yes, I think it would, something that has to be fixed to the ground or hammered in, maybe a stake is something that is constructed. Yep. Okie doke. Good question. Thank you. So let's go into a little bit more detail. We were talking about what's reasonably practical. So deciding what is reasonably practical requires considering the likelihood of exposure to the hazard, the degree of harm from exposure to the hazard. So that's looking at likelihood and consequence. So we go into a bit more detail in the next module around risk assessments, and you'll be well practiced about thinking about likelihood and consequence. So the next one is availability and suitability of ways to eliminate or minimise the risk. Is there a means to do that? I guess is the question there. And the cost associated with eliminating or minimising the hazard, including whether the cost is grossly disproportionate to the risk. And that's I guess a term there, grossly disproportionate. That will have a different meaning for everyone. So there's certainly some subjectivity around what is reasonably practical. So we're going to move into another exercise just to get us thinking about what is reasonably practical. And surprise, surprise, there's going to be some polls involved. So we'll get you thinking, caps on. So in this, there's an exercise here. I want to think about when you're thinking about a hazard. So the hazard is going to be working at a height. And the reason you're at height is that you're replacing a luminaire on one of those light poles in the image, and the risk is then falling from a height whilst you're replacing the luminaire. So we're going to think about what are some reasonably practical ways to eliminate this risk. So Marissa, you fired up the poll there. So some options there for you. So I want you to respond with what you think is reasonably practical to eliminate the risk. So the first one is just don't worry about road lighting. We don't need it. That will eliminate the risk. Used hinge poles that can be maintained from ground level. Specify a long life luminaire that costs a little more. Design a council drone to go and just change luminaires everywhere. There's no drone department at council, is there, Marco?
Our surveyors have a drone, but for survey purposes only. I don't think it can change the lights at the moment.
Not yet. Okay. Because if you did that might change the answer to that question. So we've got we're almost there on responses. Okay, close the poll. We'll share the results. So here we go. So on the first one, don't worry about providing road lighting. Well, yeah, that's not reasonably practical because we want road lighting. It serves a purpose. It lights the corridor for all road users to be able to see at night. So it's not reasonably practical that we eliminate road lighting. Used hinge poles that can be maintained from the ground. That's certainly an option in some cases. There's space considerations there, but certainly can be reasonably practical. And also, I guess, where you can lay the pole down, is there a safe space to do that? Specify a long life luminaire that costs a little more. Yep, you all agreed on that one just about. So that would minimise the risk by changing the I guess the likelihood. If you're there less frequently, then there's a reduced likelihood of the risk occurring. Design a drone to change luminaire. So there's perhaps a few handy drone pilots among you that thought that could be reasonably practical. Based on my knowledge, probably not at the moment, but the way things are going, that could change. So, yep, well done. I think we're all in broad agreement there. So we'll jump on to the next one.
Thanks, Paul. We just also had a
Yep.
comment there that you could also install the lights further away from the road corridors so they're safer and easier to access without work crews being on or close to the live road.
Yep. Yeah, spot on. So that's likely, I guess, a different risk that we're talking about there. Maybe that the live traffic risks of workers on either road being hit by live traffic. So by moving them further away, you give them more space. Maybe that's done with a longer outreach arm or something like that. I'm not a lighting designer, so someone can correct me if I'm talking rubbish. All right, well, let's have a look at the next example here. We've got this is one of the design projects we'll consider in the design exercise tomorrow, or one of the small groups will. So the hazard is the coastal area is working near water, and it's subject to tidal influences. So there'll be rise and fall, and the risk is a worker at the bottom of the cliffs drowning when they're working on this cliff stabilisation project. So think about ways that are reasonably practical to eliminate or minimise the risk. So we can fire up the next poll. There it is. So you've got 4 choices. Is it working only during low tide periods? Is that reasonably practical? That's at Scarborough, by the way. So some may know the tide times and heights there. Construct a temporary cofferdam in Moreton Bay for the limits of the project. It's yeah, you can sort of see the project area there. Use a lookout to warn for big waves coming in from Moreton Bay. Undertake works from the top of the cliff. Excellent responses coming in. Just about there. Excellent. Well, in the poll, and there are the results being shared. So working only in low tide periods. Yep, most of us thought that was reasonably practical. Assuming that there's a reasonable period there on either side of low tide for you to get in and work. So that's certainly a possibility. Construct a temporary cofferdam in Moreton Bay for the limits of the project. And now, I initially, my first thought on that was, that's the way that I wrote it. Well, was sort of thinking that it probably wasn't reasonably practical, but depending on the extent of the limits of the project, and I guess the surrounding topography, is certainly a possibility. So yeah, and there's going to be different answers with what is reasonably practical. So it's not a wrong answer, and that's sort of a great example of that. So certainly not unreasonable to consider that. Use a lookout to warn for big waves. It's certainly practical. Whether it's effective is probably going to be the question. And undertake works from the top of the cliff. So depending on the nature of the work and the stability of the cliff, that is also reasonably practical to consider that, and consider if you get special machinery that can sort of to reach out. Or I think, and you can see that looks like something there perched at the top of the cliff with a very long boom arm there. So that's certainly potential way to minimise or eliminate some risk. Yeah, spot on, Simon there. And the chat, yeah, the cofferdam is practical only relative to the cost and scale of the work. Yeah, spot on. So
yeah, I was going to say as well, you got to also take into consideration the other effects that may bring. Like there'll be a whole heap of environmental approvals to put a cofferdam in Moreton Bay. So does that then become reasonable?
Yep. Agreed. I hadn't thought of that, Mark. There's certainly be a few approvals required. So that would factor into the cost equation. So if your cofferdam can become part of the solution. Yeah, Peter. Yeah, out of my depth talking about coastal engineering, but that's certainly a consideration to try and think about exactly what safety and design sort of intended to do. Is there a solution there that we can use to keep people safe while the work has been undertaken that becomes part of the ultimate solution? So lots of possibilities. All right, I'll jump on to the next one. So the hazard here we've got is working near live traffic. So the task being undertaken is working in that landscape median, maintaining the landscape median. Now it's a recent photo from Southbank and on Grey Street. They've decided to go nuts with landscaping. So I think there's a completely separate consideration about road safety there, which it's at the top of my mind at the moment, but we'll think about safety and design here. So this looks like some landscaping that's going to require some quite reasonable and frequent maintenance. And so there's likely going to be a need for workers to be out there on that median. So the hazard is live traffic, and the risk is a vehicle crash involving workers maintaining the landscape median. So if you could press go on the next poll, Marissa. So what are the reasonably practical ways we can eliminate or minimise the risk in this situation? So maintain the median only when the road is closed to traffic with diversions in place. There's some diversions available here. Place signs warning of workers on the road. Use a lookout to warn of errant vehicles. Use a median treatment that does not require to be maintained by works on the ground.
While we're waiting for those responses to come in, Paul, we've just got a question from Clayton. Is safety also extended to fauna, or is it limited only to humans?
Safety of fauna, yeah. Well, the Workplace Work Health and Safety Act relates to people. We'll talk about other design considerations tomorrow, and that would be, the safety of fauna would certainly be another design consideration that goes into projects. All right, just about maybe I'm responding to this poll, so we can close that poll. Oh, we've closed it, we've shared it. Excellent. So looking at some of the outcomes, maintaining the median only when the road is closed to traffic with diversions in place. Most people thought that was reasonably practical, and or if you know Southbank, there are some diversions that you could reasonably use. Maybe that becomes a little bit more challenging if you've got a road network that doesn't allow ease of traffic diversions. So every case will be different as far as that goes. Place signs, warning of workers on the road. It's certainly reasonable. Use a lookout to warn of errant vehicles. It's probably reasonable. Whether it has effectiveness, I guess, is the question there. And use immediate treatment that does not require maintenance on the ground most people thought that was reasonably practical too, and that's a consideration, so a really strong safety design consideration. So you just see a question there from Andrew pop up. Does reasonably practical consider the risks of the treatment? For example, not providing shade introduces risk to people through heat and sun. Well, in a work health and safety context, reasonably practical component is focused on the health and safety of workers, and there's many other design considerations that have to be balanced, I guess, with safety and design. Road safety is one, and I guess the amenity, shade and heat stress is another. So, but reasonably practical when you're considering in a work health and safety context should be considering the health and safety of workers. Great question. Maybe prize to Andrew. Think, Marissa?
Do. Andrew's on 2 today.
Oh, 2. Okay. Oh, maybe you can share it around.
He may only receive 1 though.
Is that because of you, Marco? You're gonna?
I'm not naming names.
No, okay. All right, excellent. Okay, now I'm not going to jump the gun. And yes, that was the last poll on reasonably practical. So just circling back there to safety and design, the definition that we introduced at the start. So requires a designer to ensure as far as is reasonably practical, that a structure is designed to be without risk to the health and safety of persons who at a workplace use the structure for the purpose for which it was designed. Construct the structure at a workplace again. So the term workplace is frequent. Carry out any reasonably foreseeable activity at the workplace. And lastly, are exposed to any activity at the workplace. So we'll have a break in a second, and I just wanted to reinforce what safety and design is. We've gone through all those quite important terms. After the break, we'll move on. We'll just talk about other safety and design considerations. If you have any questions, just pop them into the chat and I can answer them after the break. So we will have 5-minute, Hans, getting there. We'll have a 5-minute break, so it's 2:55 now. So at 3 o'clock, everyone.
Jump back on at 3, or it's just turned 2:56. Do you want to jump on at 3:01 or we 3:01? All right, 5 minutes.
Yep.
Great. See you then.
Great. See you soon, everyone.
Refreshed?
Yes, refreshed. Hey, everyone.
Good.
Welcome back. 3:01. We'll kick off again. Hopefully, you got a drink and you're ready for the second half of Module 1. So now I'm just going to go through some safety and design considerations. We've touched on what safety and design is and delved into some of those key terms in the first half of this module. Now I'm going to run through some safety and design considerations. So straight off the bat, we're going to introduce a poll. I'm going to ask you about these two approaches to risk and safety management. So you may have heard these terms before, they've been around for a little while. So the first one is so far as is reasonably practical. Some people might call it SFARIP or some other way of saying that. And the second one is as low as reasonably practical. It's a bit easier, that one. People call that ALARP. It's okay if you haven't, I guess, thought about these terms much or not sure about it. There's certainly a not sure option available. And all those responses are coming in. Maybe a few people are still getting a drink, Marissa.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've still got a few coffees being filled up.
It's all right. We'll give this one a little bit more time. So getting there. Excellent.
Call it in 10 seconds. What do you think?
Yeah, give it 10 seconds.
Poll there and I'll share the
There we
results.
go, sharing the results. All right, the verdict is in. So it was only one response to say yes. Many of you, 70% of you said no, and a few said not sure. And I thought we'd get a bit of more of a mixed response here, but we didn't. So it's a big call on the no there, yeah. And it's certainly the case. I think it's been a a debate that exists and still continues, probably in more theoretical circles about what these approaches mean. But the key differences between SFARIP and ALARP is that SFARIP is a precaution-based approach, so it takes the view that what can be done should be done, and ALARP is a target risk approach. There's some subjectivity involved in setting that target, but there can be a tendency to say, well, we'll hit our target risk and nothing further needs to be done. So there are cases where I think these terms are used interchangeably. There is a difference between them. So important to note that the approach in the Work Health and Safety Act is the SFARIP, so as far as is reasonably practical approach. So it is the what can be done should be done approach. So if there's anything that we can do that's reasonable to further reduce risk, then that SFARIP approach encourages you to do that. Excellent. Okay, thanks for participating in that poll. So we'll move on to the next one, and it's around knowledge and capability. So I've crossed out there. So design projects are often, I think, is probably the appropriate term, too complex to be fully understood by one person. And I think in my experience, times there's been a move to specialisation in technical and engineering disciplines for a range of reasons, and it's going to be very unlikely that these days one person will have a full and detailed understanding of all parts of a design project. There can be some exceptions. Maybe there's really small and simple projects will be straightforward, but many of the projects that will be undertaken by council will need the knowledge and capability of many disciplines. So in practice, when we're thinking about safety and design, and we've got this knowledge and capability consideration in our heads, then it means that safety and design is not just a job that can be completed by one person. It requires contributions from a range of people. So this is a fairly complex project happening in Brisbane, the Brisbane Metro at the moment. So it's was a busway station. I guess it becomes a metro station. I'm not really sure, but you can see that it's quite a complex project, and includes a number of elements and bridge structures, temporary works, electrical, live traffic, civil works. So, I mean, that's a pretty extreme example of a complex project, but it just shows the the potential complexity of some projects that exist these days. So, as I said before, design projects are often too complex to be understood by one person, and that means we need people with specific skills and experience included in the safety and design team or in the design team, and they need to be consulted during the safety and design process to fill any knowledge gaps. Recently, I was part of a safety design assessment that included 25 participants because of the complexity and scale of the project involved. But that over the years, I guess I've been involved in safety and design assessments that have ranged from anywhere from 3 to 4 people right up to that 25 mark, and it will certainly vary from project to project. So I've got a very incomplete list of skill areas there that I sort of, particularly in relation to some of the works and projects that council will do. So I want you to jump into the chat now and identify any other skill areas that I've missed there. Skill areas that might be needed on projects that council completes. Hans got urban planning. I did have urban design, so I wasn't far off. But I don't think I've got. Yeah, maybe I missed out planning there. So it is an incomplete list. Arborist, Aaron. Yep. Asset maintenance, John. Yep, didn't get that. Okay. Only a few responses. Public safety. Yeah. Surveyor. Yeah. Good point. There we go. They're rolling in now. Project management. Yeah. Cultural heritage. Yeah. Human factors. That's a good one, Ben. Give a prize to Ben there, Marissa, for human factors. I like that consideration. So, traffic management, Simon. Yeah, traffic management, certainly its own, I guess, its own discipline these days. I think when I started work, it was something that you might have dabbled in, but certainly not anymore. Wonderful. All right, well, we'll move on. So, just want to exercise the chat again and look at this image here. So it's a active transport path under a bridge, an older bridge. It's at Stones Corner, actually, for some of you that know the area. So in the chat, I just want you to identify some of the skill areas you think would have been required for the design of this active shared path under this bridge. How am I going with prizes, Marissa? I've been a bit slack, haven't I?
We can probably dish out a few more. I've got a few more in my bag.
Excellent. Ben with hydrology, transport planning, Nadia, structural engineering, of course. Even though the structure's already there, there'll be an interaction with between the path and the structure. Accepted, urban planning. Traffic engineering, I guess, yep, around the path design, conflicts, flood engineer, yep. Landscape design, yeah, good one, Aaron. Stakeholder engagement, yeah, yeah. Metal fabricator, yep. So there's some, they're all good points. Metal fabricator, we'll talk about that a little bit later in a few slides' time. I'm probably thinking more around some of the design skills or knowledge areas, but we certainly will touch on contractors and the roles of contractors and fabricators and manufacturers in a few slides' time. But great that you're already thinking about that. Geotech engineer. Yep, perfect. Got the hang of that. Wonderful. All right, I'll just jump onto the next image. So some skill areas, so design skill areas that you think would be required for this design. So this is Old North Roads. We've got some lights with some tilt down poles actually, and a bike transition ramp in the bottom of the screen. This is over a culvert. Electrical, yep, bingo, lighting. Certainly, lighting design would be important. Someone that knows a little bit about the overhead transmission wires and how to stay clear of those, and clearances required around there. Pavement engineer, certainly, big road pavement there. Landscape architecture, yep. Traffic signals, there we go. Yeah, maybe a prize to Tony that maybe a bit subtle, those signals there amongst everything else that's going on, but they're there, yep. Green infrastructure, fauna fencing, yep, certainly fauna fencing through on top of that culvert, road safety, water. Maybe a prize to Hans as well, that's a good one. So a good skill area to be involved. Service providers, Sheldon, yes. Civil designers, almost forgot about them, but they're very important. Daniel, utilities, Sheldon, yeah, is excellent. All right, we're thinking now. So we're thinking about all those people that would need to be involved in a project and then provide input to a safety and design process. Okay, the last one here to test our thinking around knowledge and capability of design skills that would be required as part of a design project. So this one is also at the Bribie Island Bridge, and is a path that ducks under the existing bridge, obviously built some time after the construction of the Bribie Island Bridge itself. Structures, yep. Geotech, yep. Maybe prize to Nathan there. Yeah, there'll be some interesting geotech conditions through there. AT, Nadia, yep. AT design feels a bit narrow. Got the walls on either side that are quite close there. I guess if you're riding a bicycle. Lighting, yep. I think we've got yep, good one. Daniel, so mechanical, electrical. So there's it's definitely. I assumed I didn't check it out, but I assume there's some sort of pumping system there because it's a bit of a bathtub. Otherwise, when it rained, yeah, and related to that is plumber from Peter. So very good. Okay, so we'll jump on. So that's around knowledge and capability of designers, so design teams that'd be required from a project, and then the need to bring all those design skills into a safety and design assessment. Okay, hand in hand with the knowledge and capability of designers, it's also necessary to draw on the experience, the knowledge and experience of others. And when we were running through those other examples just then, many of you were identifying fabricators or contractors that would need to be involved, and that's certainly the case. So yeah, it's important to draw on their experience. We've got manufacturers of products, suppliers of products, workers themselves. Consultation with workers is a legal requirement in the Work Health and Safety Act, and it's significantly important. Getting those workers involved early can allow for the identification of risks earlier in a project, and can also give you more options, or they can give you more options to eliminate or minimise the risks and reduce costs. So I think that's super important. And depending on your background and your experience in maintenance and construction, I know that my design experience is just that, it's design experience. I don't have any experience out in the field, so I don't know how everything is constructed and how all those processes take place. So if I were designing something, I would, as well as it being a legal requirement, I would be involving people that would, construction workers and people actually experienced in building stuff would be involved in a safety and design assessment that I was running. So, and this can include, I guess, the consultation with manufacturers and suppliers. There's some examples of products there that we might consider using in our designs. There's a fencing system on top of the culvert, a crash barrier it's not quite a barrier, but an impact system that wraps around a pole. The stormwater quality device there in the bottom right corner. So if a product such as that is being considered, as a designer, you might look at a product statement or a brochure and access information online. But aside from that, you may not know too much about the product. So you would consider involving the supplier, product rep, in the design process, and potentially also as part of your safety and design workshop, depending on the type of product you were considering using as part of your design. Okay, so in what stages must safety and design be considered? So the not too surprising answer is that we need to consider it in all stages of a design process. So that includes planning, concept and detailed design. I understand that those are your three stages of design at Moreton Bay. And the earlier that we can, the early stages of a design, I know you've heard this many times, provides the greatest ability to influence the outcome of a design and avoid rework and additional time and cost. The maturity of design can sometimes limit the level of assessment that you may be able to undertake in the early stages of concept design or planning. And we'll talk about that in more detail in module 2 when we run through the process and an exercise, a design exercise. So what about some of those other design considerations that we must take into account when we design something? So there's a range of policies, plans, standards, guidelines that need to be considered when we're forming a design project. Standards and guidelines will often address safety, but the application of that guideline or standard doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to adequately control risks in a workplace. Similar to, I guess, the principles of a road safety audit, just because you have a fully compliant design in accordance with Austroads and Australian standards, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a perfectly safe, risk-free outcome. So it's the same with safety in design and workplace risk. So just because you've applied everything's in accordance with Australian standards, that doesn't necessarily mean that you've adequately addressed workplace risk. And this certainly might be the case when you have unusual or atypical structures. So risk management, I just want to talk about risk management for as another consideration. So we know that safety design aims to eliminate risks to the health and safety of persons in a workplace. And if that's not reasonably practical, we want to minimize those risks as far as we can. The risk management is a proactive process and allows you to respond to change and facilitate continuous improvement. And that's how we use a risk management approach to achieve the aims of safety and design. We get into a risk assessment more in module 2, but the risk assessment approach for safety and design is typically the risk assessment approach we'd use for whole of project risks. But it's important that we keep these distinct. So safety and design risk management and whole of project risks have different objectives. So the clear objectives of safety and design is to eliminate or minimize risks to those in a workplace. A whole of project risk assessment can be driven by other objectives. Often there's a question around in a project, or can we combine the project risk workshop with the safety and design risk workshop, or can we just do it all together so we get it all done quickly and efficiently? And that it often can lead to confusion and a sort of a muddling of the risks and the objectives of each of these, I guess, risk management processes. So it's important that there is a division between safety and design and the risk management around safety and design, and other risk management that is carried out as part of a project. Safety and design, I've seen it many times where risks that are not safety and design risks find their way into a safety and design risk assessment, a risk register, and a safety and design report. So as best we can, it's essential that we keep these two, safety and design, separated from other risk management processes that are required for a project. So we know a lot of hazards and their associated risks. We know them quite well because we tend to do the same projects regularly. And if a risk and its control is known, then you can implement those controls without undertaking a further additional risk assessment. And that's one of the benefits, or I think one of the key drivers of the safety and design process, and one of the important aspects of it is to allow focus and assessment of unusual projects. It might be a constrained site, any new processes that are required for a project, any new materials or products that are going to be used. So we know a lot of risks that we encounter as part of our project, I guess, design. We still need to consider those, but I think the real value in a safety design process is to explore some of those more unusual aspects of a project, or atypical aspects of a design project, and really delve into those to make sure that risks associated with any of those unusual aspects of a design project are understood and are eliminated or minimized. So here are just a couple of examples of work method statements and safety data sheets that exist. That's excavator operation, working with materials, and that's a concrete mix data sheet there. Working at heights, and a safe work method statement for excavating and trenching. So just to back on that point, just because the safe work method statement exists doesn't mean we we don't look to eliminate the risk or further through design if we can, or otherwise minimise the risk. So it's not a default acceptance that that risk is there and we can't do anything about it. It's just an acknowledgement that we understand the risks. We have a process where we mitigate or reduce the risk as much as what's considered reasonably practical, and that's great. But if we can, ideally, if we can eliminate that risk, then that's all the better for the outcome of the project. We're making great time today. There's just one more point that I want to raise. Is around professional engineering services. So in Queensland, I think many of you will be aware that engineering services must be undertaken by or carried out under the supervision of an RPEQ, and the approach that is adopted in the safety and design process for Moreton Bay is that if we're undertaking an engineering service that requires the supervision of an RPEQ, then that safety and design process will also be under the supervision of that RPEQ. If it's a project that it is not an engineering service, but does require, you're designing a structure, and remember that a very broad definition of structures. But if an RPEQ is not required for the design of that structure, and then the supervision of an RPEQ is not required for the safety and design process. So that sort of just aligns with the need for an RPEQ on the project overall. Okay, well, that was the last other consideration that I wanted to touch on. So just to review what we covered today, we've made great time. I probably do fear I've got a lot of content to come in Module 2. So thank you for being the first group and the guinea pigs on as far as my timing and my content goes, but I appreciate your participation and your questions as well. So Module 1, we've covered the key definitions around what safety and design is. We've covered a workplace, a structure, a designer, and we've defined what is reasonably practical. And we've talked about those other considerations. So SAFARIP or ALARP, excuse me. Reached the limit of my talking as well, but knowledge and capability, consultation, cooperation and coordination. Talked about those other design considerations, so there's other guidelines and policies and standards that we need to apply and we need to balance with safety and design. We've talked about the project life cycle, the design life cycle, and getting our safety and design process underway as early as possible, because that allows us the best opportunity to affect the safety and design outcomes in the design. The risk management process and known risks, so the importance to keep separate our safety and design risk management process and any other risk management process that occurs for a project. We want a clear understanding from particularly all participants of what safety and design is, so we're not throwing in other non-safety and design risks into our safety and design assessment. And the last thing we touched on there was the design certification and the role of RPEQs in a project, in a safety and design assessment. So if you have a project that requires certification by an RPEQ, then that RPEQ must be involved in the safety and design process for a project. Wonderful. Well, that brings us to the end of the content today. And I think Marissa can just jump in about the learning management system.
Yeah, I can. I'll get my screen set up. There's just a question that coming from Clayton, if you want to have a look at that one while I just set up my screen. Yeah. And if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat now and we can sort of get to them before we finish up the session. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yep, I can.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So thank you, Paul. It's been a great presentation. This is the learning management system that I mentioned earlier on. So if you haven't been able to log in yet, this is what it looks like when you do log in. You'll just have to click on, you'll be taken to an initial dashboard and then just click on to the safety and design course. Just a bit of a welcome page. This is the link to the webinar for today and tomorrow, some course information, basically what you already have, so the agenda and so on. And we've got a little introductions for them. You're welcome to pop in some information about you and say hello. But I think you already probably all know each other. So anyway, we've got a resources folder here. We've just popped in a whole bunch of resources there for you to browse through. So yeah, feel free to have a look at all of them, and you can download and save whatever you need to. You will have access to this learning management system for up to 6 months. So feel free to download it whatever you like and save. This is the safety and design manual that Paul mentioned. It is in draft form. So it will be reviewed, I think, after the delivery of all of the training to Moreton Bay. So, but you are welcome to view that and provide your input if you like to Paul or Marco. So module 1 for today, we've got the presentation here. You're welcome to access that and have a look at the slides. And also after the session today, I'll pop in the recording from today's webinar. That will just be available here in a couple of hours' time. Once it's available, it'll just say module 1 recording. So you're welcome to click on that. It'll be a link on YouTube and you can watch that back. Your task for today, we've left you a bit of time. You can sort of get this one done. It shouldn't take too long. It's just a quiz, just a 10-question multiple choice type quiz. I've already started apparently, but this will just say, you know, click on here to attempt. We've just got 10 questions, just all multiple choice, just based on the content that you've heard today. You need, as we mentioned earlier, you need an 80% mark or higher. So you need to get 8 out of 10 correct. You know, and if you get any wrong, you've got a few attempts. I think you've got up to 3 attempts. And if by chance you happen to exhaust those 3 attempts, just let us know and we can reset them. Or if you need any tips, we can get you some training with Paul. But that is the content for module 1. We've got a module 2 tab, which we'll go over tomorrow. And that's the LMS. So feel free to jump into the LMS and complete your quiz today before the end of the module. Well, you've got some bit more time up your sleeve. If your manager might think you're still in training by what's the time? Up to 4 o'clock. So bit of time for you to get that done.
The manager's here.
Oh, the manager's there, yeah.
John's part of this group, so no.
Oh, sorry, he's got the inside knowledge. What else can I tell you? So yeah, today has been in a webinar format on Zoom, so we can't see you, we can't hear you. But tomorrow will be slightly different. We're going to change it into a meeting format. So you can keep your camera off. We don't have to see you. You can stay in your pajamas and slippers, whatever it is that you're in at 2 p.m. But it will be in a slightly different format, just to give you a heads up, because we will break you out into some small groups for a little bit of an exercise. So just a bit of a heads up. But you might see a slightly different screen tomorrow when you jump on. What else? There was any other questions in there? There was a question there from Clayton. I don't know if that was a question or a comment from the activity.
Yeah, I think that was from the activity. Yeah.
From the activity? Okay. All right, great.
Good comment.
And that's about it from me, I think. I think we've covered everything. Paul, Marco, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. I think one of the key takeaways is, as people probably would have seen from the polls, is that it can be subjective. There may not be one right or wrong answer, which is why Paul's saying it's a team thing. You need everyone involved that's working on it to flesh out these risks and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, especially so when we get into our risk assessment component of tomorrow's module. It will sort of need to be a team effort there. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
fantastic.
Absolutely. Great. All right.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining. It's been a fantastic first module. See you at the 2 o'clock tomorrow for
same
part
time
2.
tomorrow. Right. See you, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
See you, folks.
Bye.